Hello. How are you? Hi, everybody. Can you see me? Can you hear me? How are you? Paula says hello. Hello, Paula. Glad you're here. You coming on with me today, Paula? Can I see you today or can I talk to you? Oh, good. Okay. Who else? See me, hear me? See me, hear me? Who else we got here? Michelle, hi. Can you see me, hear me? Goody, goody, goody. Okay, okay. Well, I haven't heard from many people. I know Maria's gonna be on the phone. Oh, good. Heidi. Hi, Heidi. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Hi, Heidi. Can you see me? Can you hear me? I'm hoping you can. Heidi O. Oh ho. Hi, Heidi. Good, good, good. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to get going. If more people come on, all the better. How are you all today? I want to move my screen over so you can see what I'm writing about. I just got back from Costa Rica, 90-degree weather, and I'm back here in St. Louis and it's dusting with snow. I don't know. I think I might like cold weather better. Anywho, you guys, what we talked about last time, I want to talk about what we talked about last time. And I have a little list here about what I want to talk about. So, first, I talk about joy a lot and how we create it. And so, my new favorite word is delight. That's my new favorite word. I'm delighted. It delights me. And how can I create that feeling? So, once again, my favorite book from my favorite friend and author, An Invitation to Pause Again by Janet Archer. If you don't have the book, get it. It'll change your mindset every time you read a story. There's just like 2-page stories, and each time it changes my headset. So I want to change your headset to start out with, and I want to help you create delight before I start with anything else. So here's what she says about delight. Too many times over the last few weeks, I've noticed my mind thinking thoughts that would never create the feeling of delight. So the other day, as I was riding my bike on the beach, I asked my husband to take a photo of me as I was smack dab in the middle of feeling delight. Delight of being one of the only people on the beach, delight of riding into the sunset, delight of the air caressing my skin, delight of the sound of my tires rolling through the wet sand, delight of the waves crashing around me, delight of the smell and the spray of the ocean air, delight of my mind, thinking thoughts that were bringing delight, delight of my husband being there to take my photo, delight of sharing this moment with him, delight that my hamstring injuries seemed to love the action of pedaling the bike, delight that I had thought to buy this bike, delight that it is pink, delight that it was the day after Thanksgiving and I was where I was, and finally, delight that I gave myself what I most needed, an afternoon of sheer delight. So delightful. I love it. I love it. And this is, I don't know if you can see the picture of her here, but that's a picture of her riding the bike on the beach in pure delight. I love her little pictures in the book too. All right. So, as I'm talking to you today, I want to see if we can kind of conjure it up a little bit. Like, I'm really delighted to be on this webinar right now with you. Delighted. Do you know how long I wanted to do things like this? Way before I ever did it? So long. So sometimes I get a little nervous when I get on. Sometimes I have to think about what I want to talk to you about. And if I think too hard about it, it doesn't delight me. And so I have to bring myself back to realize that what I'm most delighted about is that you're here and I get to do this on a regular basis. It's amazing to me. It delights me. Just as easy to feel delightful as it is to feel nervous. So I think I'm just going to be delighted. Okay. So no matter what else we do today, no matter where else we go, I want to make sure by the end of this phone call that all of you can find something to be delightful about. Okay. All right. So next thing. I want to talk a little bit about today, depending on what you guys want to be coached on, but I want to talk about the difference between productive failure versus unproductive failure. So, most of you who've coached with me, all know that I don't think there's any way of getting around failing. If you're going to learn something new and you want to be really, really good at it, you're going to have some failures. And how you think about those failures makes the decision about how productive it was for you. Did it help you move forward or was it unproductive, meaning that you used it to beat yourself up? So I think it's a really interesting thing to think about in terms of your own mindset about what you see yourself doing when you do something or you don't do something or it doesn't go the way you want it. It's like failure is not really a bad word. I used to think it really was. I failed. Oh, no. Now I kind of think about, oh, goody, I failed. Because if I'm moving towards a goal and I had a failure, all it means to me is that it's going to teach me something about how to get closer. I used to make it mean that I'm done. It didn't work. In fact, I can give you a really good idea of what happened with me one time, way back when I was starting chiropractic school and I was very young. I thought I was really old. I was 26 years old, and I thought I was so old to become a chiropractor. I remember that. But anyway, I took, I was taking an organic chemistry course, and I'd never really taken any science courses. And I realized, like in the middle of it, that there was no way I was going to pass it. And so I dropped it because I knew I was going to fail. And basically, what I did is I took to my bed for a few days and I said, I can't become a chiropractor. There's no way I can do it because I can't pass this course. And for a while, I really let it run me and really made it mean that I couldn't do it and that I couldn't be a chiropractor. And luckily for me, I married a man, I think I was married to him at the time, who told me I had to get out of bed. And he actually, God bless his soul, enrolled me in another chemistry course because I had to take it in order to get in. And I said, just try it. If you don't like it, you can quit again. And to make a long story short, I got myself out of bed. I went and did the first day. I had a totally different teacher. My mind was different, even though I was very frightened that I was going to fail again. And when I walked out of that class, I just walked a little taller. And I realized that it had nothing to do with me, that the way that I was learning or the teacher that was teaching me just wasn't my person. And that as soon as I walked into this class and had this teacher, it's like I understood what she was talking about. There's nothing wrong with me. I just needed a different teacher. And I've used that for so many other things because it could have been a very unproductive failure where I really did for 3 days make it mean I cannot be a chiropractor. And of course, I did it for 30 years. So I ended up making it a productive failure. I want you to think about that as we're talking today, as and I'm coaching you today, is whatever it is, if something isn't going the way you want it, how can you make it work for you to get closer to where you want to go? It really makes a difference. It's the only difference between where you are now and where you want to go is a bunch of failures. I just love to look at it like that because it helps me. Okay. The last thing that I want to talk about is the obesity code that I talked to you about the last time that we talked and the idea of intermittent fasting. And the only thing I want to say about it before I actually pull somebody on to talk to is that you may or may not want to do it. And I don't really care one way or the other, but it is something like from the beginning of when I started this weight loss journey of my own, I basically just started with eating when I'm hungry, stopping when I'm full, and being able to enjoy a joy without eating the whole thing, without eating gobs of it, learning how to really mindfully eat it. That was it, and just eating between the twos. And it got me to where I wanted to go, which was just kind of being at a steady weight. But it wasn't the weight that I really ended up at. It was a weight that I was fine with at the time because I was sick of going up and down. And then I started, my next phase of that was starting no flour and no sugar and doing fasting. I mean, not fasting, sorry, doing cleanses. And once I understood the the value of taking sugar and flour out, because basically that's what the fast was. There was a lot of different drinks and stuff. And so I would put my clients through it and put my patients through it with really good results. And then what I found from that is that really the only thing that needed to really happen, the thing that changed the most for me, was just taking sugar and flour out and letting my body adapt to that. And that what happened when my body didn't have sugar and flour, how I reacted, how I felt, how I handled food. And with that, adding that piece, which is why I added it to my program, then I ended up going probably 10 pounds lower, which was really a better weight for me. But at the time, sometimes a higher weight is better, I mean, that I could just stay at and that I could eat when I'm hungry and I'm stopped when I'm full. But I was eating flour and sugar, a lot of it. Well, not a lot of it, but I was eating it. And when I didn't eat it, eating when I'm hungry and stopping when I'm full took on a different meaning, which I think you all understand that when you don't eat flour and sugar, you just don't want to eat as much. So your hunger scale changes. So that's why I added that to my program. And then the last thing that I ended up adding was the notion of intermittent fasting. It's the last thing that I learned that I really liked, intermittent fasting and planned joy eats. So my program has kind of changed over the years with the things that I've learned. So with intermittent fasting, I incorporated that into my eating plan maybe 2 years ago. And, I was kind of resistant to it a little bit because it sounded like I was going to have to go hungry. And I really learned how to eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full. And so I thought it was kind of getting in the way of my philosophy. So I was a little ambivalent about it, but somebody that I respect a lot was talking about it and talking about the physiology behind it. And I'm all about physiology. So I started learning about it. And then what I started thinking about for myself was that the one thing that I knew about me is that I really was never very hungry in the morning. And I always ate because I thought that breakfast was the most important meal of your day, because that's what I'd always been told. Just like we've been told, don't eat fat, just like we've been told so many different things that aren't true, right? That actually don't work, especially don't eat fat, right? Because what happened with the low fat era is everybody got fat eating sugar. So, I mean, you need to be very mindful about new things that come in. And I don't want to just teach them if I haven't really used them a lot myself and I can see the benefit. So, all I really did with the philosophy of intermittent fasting from reading it from the obesity code was that our bodies have set points and our bodies are controlled in terms of how we burn fat and how we get energy. Is all controlled through insulin. Insulin's a hormone. And insulin's controlled by how often you eat, how high it is, how low it is. And we still have a lot of philosophies about eating more often and increases your metabolism, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not here to say believe this or don't believe that. I'm just saying if what you're doing works for you, forget about it. But for me, it just interested me because I wasn't very interested in breakfast. And so all I did was decide that I was going to increase my fast from the time I stopped eating dinner till the next day, make it longer. And so basically all I did was maybe increase it by 2 or 3 hours so that I eat maybe at noon or 1 o'clock and don't eat in the morning, mainly because most of the time I'm not hungry. Now, when I first did this, it was really hard because I did get hungry. And the theory behind this is that, your fullness and hunger hormones, leptin and ghrelin, also are regulated by insulin. So depending on how often you eat, the more insulin's up high, the more your hunger and fullness hormones are going to be affected. So you could end up, if you eat a lot more often, you're going to find you're hungry more often. And the reason for that is because it's controlled that way. So when we talk about balancing hormones, the hormones that are balanced the most by how often you eat is number one, insulin. And when insulin is very low, leptin and ghrelin, your hunger and fullness hormones, are affected, which you may notice happens even without sugar and flour, that you don't want to eat as often because that affects those hormones too. And it affects insulin, but nothing affects insulin more than not eating. So he's got all kinds of ideas about how to do this. You can fast every other day. There's all different ways to fast. But the thing that made the most amount of sense to me was just making it longer because I really don't want to eat anyway, and work with that. And what I have found from doing that over a couple years, like I'll usually have a bulletproof coffee in the morning, which kind of helps not be too hungry if I get hungry, is that my hunger is just low. I mean, I'm never really that hungry, and I get full really easy. It's just like they're so regulated. And I feel better doing it that way. I don't have to think about eating so much. So it's a little bit different than how I originally started this program with Eat When You're Hungry and Stop When You're Full. But really, once your hormones are adjusted and you're burning fat, you do eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. It just ends up that way, right? And you get to decide when you want to eat and when you don't want to eat. So I just want you guys to think about that. If you have questions for me, if you're not interested in it at all, it really doesn't matter. If what you're doing is working, all the better. But if you're at all interested in it, that's the way that I would stretch it, is just first start with it in the morning. And notice that you will find that hunger. Sometimes it gets intense. And part of that is because your hormones were so regulated to doing what they always have done. Paula says every day, right? Yeah, every day. Yes. So I just think I want you to think about it, but I also want you to know that while you're going through this, you are going to go through states of hunger. And the interesting thing about hunger when insulin is low, it's working, like your insulin's not high, is you'll feel the hunger for a while and then it'll just kind of go away. And then you'll feel the hunger and then it just kind of gradually goes away, as opposed to intense hunger where you feel you're going to die. The intense hunger where you feel like you're going to die usually is not from low insulin. It's usually because insulin is high and you want to eat all the time. So this is all in the book, and I don't want to get into all the science behind it. And Paula says, and when did you notice your body? Let me see what you're saying, Paula. And when did you notice your body shifting and dropping weight? Okay, so I really didn't lose any weight, only because my weight was pretty good anyway. I really just did it just to see what it would be like. And I think what it does is it really, the no flour, no sugar is what really helped shift my weight and made it more low and easy to do. But I think if I think about over the 2 years of intermittent fasting, I just think that overeating or eating when I'm not hungry becomes less and less an option. It's like I don't care anymore. And I think it has to do with my hormones becoming more balanced. And I think when you're burning fat, I mean, the reason that you can go longer without eating is because you're burning fat, right? So, I mean, that's what we want to do. If we have fat in our body, we want to burn it. We don't want to keep burning sugar. And for a lot of people, if they're eating too often and not eating flour and sugar, which should work, but sometimes what happens is insulin, if you're eating often, sometimes insulin just stays high because either you're insulin resistant because your body's been doing it for a long time, and so it can't burn fat. And when you can't burn fat, you can't lose weight. So I just think that if you're stuck, it's a great way to get unstuck if you don't have another way to do it. Because for a lot of people, they'll stop with no flour, no sugar, and still won't lose weight. And that's because of the insulin problem, how often you're eating. So you got to start with no flour, no sugar, because as he speaks in the book, it's like when you're eating flour and sugar, it just messes up your hormones so bad that it's really hard to even think about going without eating. Okay? So I have people here who want to be. Heidi started listening to the Obesity Code 4 days ago and absolutely love it. Yeah. Oh, you started listening to it. Okay, so you're doing it. That's a good thing to do Audible on it or something like that. Yeah, so it's like, see if it rings true to you. If it does, then what I have to tell you is you have to do it. Stick with it because you're going to get hungry. And that's why I want to keep saying it's like, I know the philosophy here is eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. But your hunger hormones are confused. And especially if you're insulin resistant, they're even more confused. So you feel hungry more often because of the confusion of the hormones from the insulin. So, I mean, what I have seen the biggest difference is how much that has changed, how less often I want to eat. But if I'm like, let's just say there's a time when I just really, really feel hungry. Sometimes I don't get through the morning and I just feel really, really hungry, or I feel lightheaded or whatever. I'll eat a few nuts or something like that. Rarely does it happen, but if it does, I'll eat. And I'm not telling you guys, like, if you feel really, really hungry or you feel faint, for Pete's sakes, eat. So that was kind of like, I want to read what Maria asked me because she's not going to be on the phone today. Oh, good. I'm glad you're in, Paula. I just got your message, Paula. I want to read what Maria asked me, and I'm going to answer that first. And then I'm going to bring Michelle on, who wants to be coached. Okay, so what Maria says about intermittent fasting is like, I'm interested if it can also help balance hormones. And yes, it can help balance hormones. Of what hormones are you talking about? But if you're talking about your hunger and fullness hormones, ghrelin and leptin, and your hormone insulin, which is probably the most important hormone that controls so much stuff when it comes to burning fat. And high insulin is, of course, diabetes, right? And insulin resistance is when insulin doesn't go down easily. And that's because we've been eating the wrong stuff for so long, and we're eating when we're not hungry and all of that stuff. And it messes with it. It's called insulin resistance. It's called metabolic syndrome. There's all kinds of things that are happening. But the way to change it is by going through this fasting process. It does break it, probably more so than no sugar, no flour, or anything else that I know of. Food for thought, quote. Okay, so anyway, she says, I understand you have a shorter window in which you can eat, i.e. 12 to 6 or 1 to 7. The other day I wasn't hungry when the window was coming to the end at 6:30 or 7. I might overthink this, but I was in sort of a panic. I want to follow the rules of IF, but what if I get hungry because I didn't eat enough within the window? I'm trying this tonight. I wasn't hungry for dinner, so I didn't eat. And what I tell myself is not you can eat if you get hungry, but just try to see how long you can go until midday tomorrow morning. Is this the right mindset? Or should I tell myself if I really get hungry, I can eat? Or am I just overthinking and confusing myself? Well, the answer is all of it. So you can always eat, period. But what you want to tell yourself is like, if it's an emergency, you'll eat. Like, if you feel like it's an emergency, eat. But otherwise, just tell yourself the only way to burn fat is actually to feel the hunger. Because if you feel the hunger and then you notice that it goes away, and then you feel the hunger and you notice it goes away, you are burning fat. In the beginning, you're probably not burning fat, you're burning sugar. And when you're burning sugar, you feel hungry, starving. And that's what it's going to feel like. So how do you get through that? You just have to get yourself through it. If it means having to eat a little in order not to feel so terrible, eat. But the goal is to stay within the windows of what you create and find what works for you. I mean, we're talking about failures. Like, you might have a few failures doing this. In other words, you may eat, you may whatever. A lot of things could happen. But all that I'm saying is, if this is what you want to do, then this is what your goal is. And you decide what your window is. And I'm thinking like that's kind of what Maria is doing. It's like, you can tell yourself, if you're really hungry, you can eat, but we're really going to only if it's an emergency. I think is the best way to say it. If it's an emergency, if it feels like, oh my God, something's going to happen if I don't eat. Usually nothing's going to happen if you don't eat. But if you feel like it is, eat. Right? And just eat something that's pretty high fat, because what we know about insulin is fat does not raise it. That's the last type of food that will raise insulin, which is why bulletproof coffee or having a little bit of fat in the morning is okay, because it helps the appetite as it's adapting, but it doesn't affect insulin. It keeps insulin low. So I love the idea of keeping insulin low in my body because it just feels better, and I just don't feel like eating very often. And I just like not having to eat very often. It's less I have to think about and don't care about it. And I'm not ignoring anything. It's just my hormones are more balanced that way, or at least that's the way I look at it. I don't want to eat in the morning. Okay. So Maria, I hope that answers your question. And let me see. Wait. Heidi's saying, makes so much sense to me. 50 years of yo-yo dieting has definitely made me insulin resistant. Heidi, my guess is just when I was working with you, that's the problem. And when you start eating more often, it just makes it harder to lose the weight. And yet you feel like you're hungry a lot. That's where I think you were. I don't know where you are now. You can tell me. But I think that's where you were. And it makes it hard because, you get flour and sugar out of your diet. But last time, I think what I talked to you about, Heidi, was the whole idea of really sticking to your protocol, getting it out just to see what happens. Because I think if you don't have it out and then you go to intermittent fasting, it makes it harder. So I think you have to put all of these things together and then find what works for you. And it's really all about, when we talk about creating a plan or a protocol, it's creating a plan or a protocol that works for you, not me. This is what really works for me. You may want 3 times a day. You might want your window to be between 12 and 7, and you may want to eat 3 times a day. Or you may want to eat breakfast. You might want to eat earlier, stop sooner, or you may want a longer window. It may work great for you. You just got to test it out and try it. You got to work with failing. You got to work with, oh, that didn't work. That doesn't mean it's not going to work. It means that didn't work. Does that make sense? Paula, so you can have cream and coffee and regular salad dressings, butter and cheese. Yeah, but yeah, for sure. Because so when we talk about salad dressings, yeah, as long as it doesn't have a lot of sugar in it, like, read what you're eating. I mean, I don't care if you weren't doing intermittent fasting or no sugar, no flour, or whatever it is that you're eating, read what the hell you're putting in your mouth. Right? I just like pure food. So to me, I mean, when they used to talk about butter being bad, it just never made sense to me. Why would I eat margarine when it's total chemicals and butter is totally natural? It just never made sense to me. Cheese. It's a natural product, but how much of it you're going to eat? Right? It's all, how much are you going to eat? Like, I don't think that you can eat a stick of butter every day. Like, I just don't think it'd be good for you. Maybe you wouldn't even gain weight. I don't even know. But yeah, full fat foods do not affect insulin anywhere near as much as anything with sugar or flour in it. And it sates you. It feels better. It really does. Yeah. Okay. And Heidi says, love not having to think about food for 16 hours a day and feel like I am much less hungry during the day. Yeah. Oh, do you? So Heidi, are you starting to lose weight? Can you say yes or no on that? Yes. Oh, fan slowly. Okay. So, Heidi, just so you know, slowly is the thought. I don't know what slowly means. So, it's so interesting. So I'm just not sure that when you say slowly, how does it make you feel? Because, right. Yeah. So, the most important thing is just how much you've lost and how much time and what you want to make that mean. Because all I know is when we were working, you weren't. And now that you are, you broke through something. So watch your mind, all of you, watch your mind around that number. And if you say something about that number that makes you feel negative emotion, then you need to look at your thinking, not the number. The number is what the number is, or how you're going to use it. Let me see what she's saying. I feel great and feel like I'm having a protocol that I can live with. Oh my God. Heidi, I feel great and feel like I have a protocol that I can live with. I would celebrate that, Heidi. And I would use that thought every day. And when you think you want something or you have an urge, that you can tell yourself, this is what makes me feel great. And I love having a protocol that I can live with. So when an urge pops up that's not part of your protocol, it's like, you can't live. Why would you want to live with that? That's what you've been living with for how many years did you say? Like, how many years did you say? 30, 50 years. 50 years of that bullshit. Yeah, stop it. I love it. Oh, 48. Sorry. Okay. All right. So now I want to I'm going to bring Michelle up, and she doesn't have anything to do with intermittent fasting. So does anybody want to be coached on the idea of intermittent fasting or questions about it, and I'll bring Michelle because it's a totally different subject. Paula, you want to be coached on that? Say yes. Good. I love when I tell you what to do and you say okay. All right, let me bring you up. I'm going to promote you to panelist. First, just hang in here with me. I'm going to unmute you. You should be able to talk to me. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep. And now I'm going to unlock. I'm going to let you come in and see me. I'm going to be able to see you. You should be able to work your camera now, your video.
Okay.
Yeah, there you are.
I'm in my car.
Hello, beautiful.
Hi.
I love those sunglasses.
I'm in sunny New Mexico.
Yeah, well, nice. Oh my God, I can see the sun. Oh, give me some. I need some. All right, sweetheart. All right, talk to me. 15 minutes and then 15 minutes for Michelle.
Okay. So I have experimented with intermittent fasting in the past, and I'm not going to say it was slow, but I guess.
Why wouldn't you? You always do.
I know. I don't want to say that, but
good.
It agrees with me as well. Kind of my schedule in life, and I don't really get hungry in the morning. You and I had talked about that before.
Yeah.
Just to kind of update you and everybody else really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I am 5 weeks post-surgery, and I had a terrible reaction to that surgery, but it was my last one. So I am so happy. I'm feeling so much better.
Good.
And I'm retiring early from the FBI. So that's coming up next month. We put our house up for sale. We are in the process of buying a townhome. And so my life has been pretty crazy, since early December.
Okay, I'm going to stop you for a minute.
Yeah.
Why would you want to think, with all you just told me, that your life has been pretty crazy? How does it make you feel when you think that thought? Does it make you feel good? If it does, keep it.
Oh, okay. No, it doesn't make me feel bad because I'm in a good place right now. And
I know, but how does it feel when you think that thought? My life has been pretty crazy.
It makes me tired.
Okay, good. So because I'm like ready to jump out of my skin, I'm so excited.
Yes.
So I'm not thinking that it's crazy. I'm thinking that, oh my God, she's amazing. She's doing everything she wants to do.
I am so happy and excited today. I mean, each day, I look forward to what's coming in the future, and you have given me the tools to do what I know I want to do with my life. And so I can see that this is just a step towards that, and that the steps are laying out in the future. So, weight loss, my health is a big part of where I want to move in the future, but it's more about instead of, restriction and diets and speed and how fast can I do this, it's about, each and every day trying to take it one day at a time and doing the best I can each day in taking care of myself. That's really what it's become for me. Now, do I still struggle? And sometimes my mind will switch and say, oh, you got to lose this weight fast. Yes. But I'm very much trying to concentrate on taking this one day at a time. And because life has been hectic and I have been sick these last few weeks, I'm feeling better, feeling much more like myself. And I'm excited again about just doing what I know is in the plans for me. So that's that.
That's pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not about the weight loss. So that's why I know this is my last call with you and everybody for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I will check in with you because I am just thrilled and delighted, as you said, in what's coming. Yeah. So
Well, okay, so just I think it's better to be delighted with what is
yes, right
than
now in
what's
the present.
coming,
Yeah.
because that means you're there and you're not here.
Y- Right.
I'm I'm delighted with what
I am
is.
delighted.
Yeah, and with where you're taking yourself
Yeah.
and how you've managed all of this. You got to be delighted. I'm
Yeah.
delighted.
Yeah. So I will stay in touch with you all and let you know about my journey, because I think you have been such a big part, and the group, just listening to the group's stories,
Mhm.
and their life and sharing. It means a whole lot, to kind of know where people are after they've worked with you.
Yeah.
You have given me the tools,
Oh, for sure.
and I know
It
how
looks
to
to me
take them.
like you are using them. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know that I would have taken an early retirement before I met you. But it took working with you, knowing, that, I, the job was great, for me, for
Sure.
many reasons,
Yeah.
but the time has passed. It's time for me to move on and do something different. So,
I love it for you. So is there anything you want to be coached on right now?
yeah. So this intermittent fasting,
Yeah.
I got the book from the last call. I ended up buying the book, and
Yeah.
I've been kind of working my way through it.
It's a
But
book you have to work your way through.
but I tend to, because of my old mindset, I tend to want to set up all these rules and, make it so stringent on myself. And that's not the type of life that I want long term. I don't want to live a life of too many rules.
Okay,
And
but rules are just rule. It's just because you put them on yourself. I mean, it's your
yeah,
rules, right? So what all your
restrictive. Yeah. And restricting anyway. I think where I get caught up with this is, um, you have taught me the tool of eat when you're hungry and then
yes,
stop when you're full. So with intermittent fasting,
yeah,
I have this window of time where I'm going to eat, and I'm going to eat real food, and I'm going to eat,
right,
whole fat food is fine.
right. It's more than fine. It's necessary.
It's necessary. But where I struggle, I think, is, am I eating, and that's where I don't want to restrict myself, but I also know that there's got to be, and I have to figure it out. I don't think you can tell me, but
Uh
maybe you
huh.
can help me or guide me.
Uh huh.
Um, I know that, like cheese and milk products for me
Uh huh.
don't don't seem to serve my body in a way, that leads to weight loss.
Okay.
Maybe
Well,
because I'm eating too much, I will eat too much of those items if you
that's
give me that choice.
well. That would be interesting to note that if you
Mm-hmm.
eat too much of it, right? If you
Right.
fill yourself up too much with it. I mean, it's a food. It's not your meal, or I guess it could
Yeah.
be if you just want to eat. But I mean, the goal is. I mean, at least to me, it's like the thing that I work on the most is how to get enough vegetables in. Like, not how much cheese can I eat, but
Yeah. And
you
so
know,
instead of choosing nuts or cheese or something that's easy and quick to just grab and throw in your bag or whatever, always, always, always have those vegetables available, is what you're saying. Continue to concentrate on those veggies.
I think for me,
Yeah.
it's where the most amount of nutrition is that my
Mm-hmm.
body doesn't get. And
Mm-hmm.
I always make sure that I have something to go with it. I mean, I eat 2 times a day. So basically, I'm always just basically eating vegetables, fat, and protein. And that's just
Yeah.
what I eat. And fruit,
Yeah.
and fruit. Right. And
The
so,
other
go ahead.
the other interesting thing in the book, which I'd love to hear your thoughts on, maybe helpful for the group, is I've always, in the past, been someone that will drink, 2 to 3 Diet Cokes a day. And he talks about stopping that. Um, because your body reacts to the
Sugar.
diet drinks as if it's almost sugar, and it
Right.
makes you more hungry.
And he thinks it affects insulin.
Yeah.
Right. So you would just have to be the judge of that for yourself. I mean, you might be able to do it and it might be fine.
Okay.
But if it, like I think the problem with the drink, it's not like anybody ever loses weight off that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And I like it too. So I have learned how to make it. It's a joy eat for me.
Mm-hmm. It's a joy eat for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's how I treat it.
Okay.
Just like if I was going to have wine or anything else.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And
that was another question I had was
Mm-hmm.
alcohol and intermittent fasting. How do you combine that? Is that covered in the book? Have I just not gotten to it yet?
I just include it. So,
Okay.
I mean, I still put joy eats in, and I think you can do it if it's within the meal that you're eating.
Mm-hmm.
Because like a joy eat is so little of whatever it is that you're eating or drinking.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
it doesn't affect me. So
Okay.
I mean, to me, I think that you can put it in. There's probably other people that say that you can't. I think you have to see what works for you.
My thought was that, if I'm sitting down to a nutritious meal,
yeah,
and I'm having a glass of wine and I've planned for that glass of wine, all the better. What I don't want to do is substitute a glass of wine and say, oh, I'm not that hungry, but it's in my 6-hour window, so I'll just have a glass of wine. No, I feel like I need to feed my body real good food. And if I want to have a glass of wine, then just plan for it.
It's a joy eat. It's not a fuel eat.
Right.
Right. So it doesn't fit in fuel eating, in your mind is like the reason we call it fuel food is because it's like you're trying to fill up your gas tank with food that's going to help you.
I know, but that's where my old mindset would come back. It's like, oh, well, it's
I'll just
probably
substitute.
better. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so for you, because your health and wellness probably is really important, will you be able to manage your mind around the thought like, glass of wine sounds a whole lot better than broccoli?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so what?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, well, thanks.
Yeah.
It probably does.
Yeah.
Right, but you can train yourself because I don't know about you, but it really doesn't feel good if there's no food.
The wine? Oh, yeah, it can hit you pretty fast. Yeah.
Not only that, it just doesn't feel good. I mean, like if you're hungry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think your unintentional model has more to do with feeling restricted.
Yeah.
Right? Because you mentioned that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason that you would feel restricted is because and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this model because I want to go to an intentional model for you. But because you say, I just don't want to feel restricted, I think that's been the problem is when you make yourself feel restricted. Because the only reason you feel restricted is because you think something. It has nothing to do with what you're eating. Flour, no sugar, intermittent fasting, whatever's up in the C line, whatever your protocol is, has nothing to do with being restricted. It just has to do with you thinking something that makes you feel restricted.
True.
I can't have that. I can never do that again. I can't live my life like that. And that's what you have to watch your mind on. When you feel restricted, what are you thinking? Because that's the only problem. It's not this. It's not the C. Oh, you froze. I'm here. You froze. Paula, you froze. If you don't come back in a couple seconds, I'm going to go to Michelle. I'm so sorry. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but you are frozen in time and you look really good in your freezing, in your froze. All right. So if I can, in case she comes back, what I want to talk about then is where she wants to go is she wants to go to a different feeling. So I would think, at least if it were me, restriction is the last thing. I lost her. The last thing that I would want to feel is restricted. And probably, if we just put protocol here, whatever it is, fasting, no sugar, no flour, whatever you decided to eat, plan joy eats, however your protocol is, you have to have a thought and feeling about it so that in the A line, you do what you say your protocol is, because the A line is sticking to your protocol, whatever it is that you're doing, and thinking really good thoughts about doing it in your A line. So it's really much more than doing intermittent fasting or not. It's more what you want to think and feel about whatever it is that you do. And I think, at least for me, I think probably, yeah, I would say probably my number one thought that I don't even think I think about very much anymore is really that I can always eat whatever I want. It's just, what do I want? How do I want to feel? How's it going to make me feel? Is it going to make me feel good if I eat it? Is it going to make me feel good if I do it? But I really like, if you guys can adapt this, is I can eat whatever I want. So, I can eat bonbons all day long if I want. And in the past, I have. And I've done that, and I've been overweight, and I felt like shit, but I could do whatever I want. And I would tell myself I shouldn't be doing it and all of that. And what I've learned over time is that I can eat whatever I want. It's just, I get to choose what I want. And really what I want is I want a lot of fuel food because it makes me feel better. It makes me look better. It makes me age better. It makes me happier. So I can eat whatever I want. I'm always choosing what I want. So I don't know. So I can eat whatever I want. Makes me feel free. And my result is I eat fuel most of the time with intermittent fasting because that's what I want. I prove I can eat whatever I want in my R line. It is what I want. The more you cycle that, the more your brain starts doing it for you. It's like, sometimes, like, when we have some of the restaurants here, where they put the pretzel rolls and all the baked goods right up in the front window. Sometimes those look really good. Sometimes I'll be hungry and I'll go, I like pretzel rolls. They look good. But then I can eat them if I want it. But it's the next thing that always comes to my mind, but do I really want it? And the answer is I don't. Why? Because I don't want to I'm not going to feel good after I eat it. It's going to taste good and then I'm going to feel like crap. So I just don't do it. I can eat it. I don't want it. It's such freedom. It's what I offer all of you, is to get to the place where you can really 100% believe that. All right. So I'm pretty sure I lost Paula. So, but what I want to do is I'm going to call Michelle up now. As soon as I can find her. Here she is. I lost Paula, but here's Michelle. Michelle, you're coming up now. And I'm unmuting you, and I'm going to bring you up on video. Oh, you should be able to ask to start video. Start your video. Oh, I think I might have. Can you turn your video? There you are. Hi.
Hi.
Good to see you. You're in your car.
To see you. I'm in the car. Yep.
Is it cold up there?
It's not too bad. And I'm delighted because I'm doing my volunteer job today. And every time I do it, I feel so good about it. So I'm feeling the delight right now.
I know but the reason that you feel good about it is because what do you think?
Because I think I'm lucky to do it, and I think I'm doing what I want to do.
And it delights you.
It does.
So it's not really the volunteer work. It's the thought you have about the volunteer work. You're
Yeah.
creating your delight.
Yeah.
The volunteer work is not creating it.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
created this opportunity to do this volunteer work, and I am doing what I want to do, and I feel great about it. And I'm delighted. And I had all these technical glitches this morning, and I was like, technical glitches, no big deal. Like, I'm delighted to be here. And if it's a little stressful, I mean, if there's like stressors happening, it doesn't really touch me because I'm happy to be here. So
Love it.
I definitely experienced that.
All right. So, do you want to just tell me? Do you want me to read it?
I can just tell you. So I think this is I was re-listening to one of the podcasts, and somebody was talking about how they no longer spend so much time eating. And I feel that way. I feel like I don't spend as much time running to the store, eating junk food, beating myself up. So I have a little bit more headspace for other things like my volunteer job, which is great.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I think because we've been talking so much about saying no to other people, one of the things
that was our last call.
Yeah. I think I've had a couple calls on that.
Well, you've had yeah, I'm talking about the last video call we had.
Yes. And my struggle, I feel like this is a higher level, master's level struggle, which is good. Mm-hmm. Is that I am having trouble knowing when to say no to myself. So for example, I have an urge to call my girlfriend, the friend of mine, and set up a lunch.
Okay.
Because I want to see her. And then like the day of the lunch, mm-hmm. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm too busy today. I don't want to do this. It's too much. Why did I do this? So I'm struggling with the urge, or like I go on a trip. Like I love to travel, but sometimes I travel too much. And so it's like the urge, like, oh, my husband said there's a concert he wants to go to in Las Vegas. Let's go for the weekend in Vegas. And there's this urge to say, yeah, let's do it. But on the other hand, it's like, well, maybe I need to pause, like we talked about last time, and really think through, do I really want to go? What, like saying yes to that means saying no to perhaps a quiet weekend at home. And sort of how do I untangle that? I'm still like, I'm recognizing that to say yes and to follow these urges all the time, I don't want to do that. I need to pause and think it through differently. Mm-hmm. But I'm having trouble like modeling it because I don't really know what the like I'm a little stuck.
Okay. So I think this is telling mm-hmm. the feeling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And so any urge does not come from your prefrontal cortex.
Right.
That means it's coming from the primal brain. Ooh, that looks good. That looks good. Ooh, look at that bright, shiny object. Ooh, a cupcake. I think I'll have it.
Right. Right.
Okay. So I think it's really good that you use this because at least when I've coached you, you're really learning to manage your urges around food. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is higher level, mm-hmm. but it's still an urge.
Yeah.
Right. And what do we do with urges with Joy Eats? How do we work it?
We plan it ahead of time.
Yes, ma'am.
Using our prefrontal cortex.
That's right. We think about it ahead of time. Or we think about it before we decide. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? And we don't decide in the moment because we know in the moment the primal brain is a little toddler wanting all of it. And for you, and this happens with a lot of my clients, myself too, it's like all the stuff you're saying yes to is fun, happy, I love it. It's like that's what people say to me. They have the schedule that's way over scheduled. And they go, but I like it. As if that's the reason to keep it on your calendar and to do it and to say yes to it. Because it's not something you don't want to do. It's something you do want to do. Mm-hmm. So your question is, how do I say no to myself, is a really good question. Mm-hmm. How do you say no to yourself with a Joy Eat?
Well, I have some thoughts, like the thought, hey, I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want, but I plan my Joy Eats 24 hours in advance. So I'm really not going to do it right now.
Okay, that's it.
That's one of them. Yeah, I use that a fair amount. Like if I'm at Target and I used to have this habit of like every time I went to the grocery store, Target, Costco, wherever, where I go all the time, I'm going to go pick something for myself because it was just a habit. And now I'm like, well, that's not my habit. My habit now is that I plan my Joy Eats 24 hours in advance, and I don't really want M&Ms 24 hours from now, so I'm not going to buy that. I'll just plan a Joy Eat some other time. And that usually works. That's usually pretty good.
It's a really good managing thought for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you totally get the planning thing, and you're all in it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to be able to use it here with calendaring events?
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because the thought will pop. A lot of times it's like the thought pops up in my own head. Like, oh, I should call so-and-so and schedule lunch. Or, oh, I want to see one of my best friends who lives out of town. I should call her and we should plan a trip. So it's like it's generated from my own brain. And I kind of, one of the things I'm kind of thinking about is this whole pause concept. Like, whoop, the idea pops up in my head. Instead of texting, just wait 24 hours.
I love it. Because then it goes from an urge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounds good. Oh, that sounds good. Oh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To, let's see if I want to do it from my prefrontal cortex 24 hours from now as I think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like if because you're not using, if you can agree with me that it's not a prefrontal cortex decision.
Right. It's totally an urge. And I agree. It's like, ooh, bright, shiny object. Or potentially it's like, ooh, diversion from what I'm trying to get done here. Like, ooh, diversion from a boring afternoon. Or ooh, diversion from work that needs to get done. Like, I think there's another purpose behind it.
Good for you. So a little buffering going on.
Yes. Just like the food was always a buffer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but then maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but then when I go back 24 hours later and I was trying to put together a model and I was trying to put together so I was putting a list of pros and cons, like call so-and-so for lunch. Like, what are the pros of doing that? What are the cons of doing that? And, it's hard for me to choose between the pros of like, oh, having this fun lunch to go to or look forward to, or, oh, having this time to myself to look forward to. So it's hard to.
Well, do you like to be by yourself? You like to be by yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think being with other people feeds me, but it also drains me. And I think being by myself.
This is a real common theme. This is a very common theme from day one with you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I just struggle because it's like, I like doing both. I like having lunch with my friend. And
how do you say no? How do you say no to things that you really want?
Yeah. I mean.
You say no. That's how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You say no.
Well, and like pre-planning the no's, like we were talking about last time. One way that maybe I can do that is look at my calendar and say like, okay, this week I can plan, whatever, like I can plan one lunch with a friend per week, or I can plan one lunch with a friend per month so that I can already tell myself no, like, wait a minute. No, you don't want to do this because you've already got that. You've already planned one for this week or for this, for this month, even though it sounds like fun, you're not going to be happy if you're doing it more frequently than you really want to do it, because you also saying yes to lunch means saying no to personal downtime.
Right. So is it possible for you? I mean, like, calendaring is really, really important in anything that you do, be it business, be it your personal life. And calendaring, the idea behind it is planning.
I love to plan and I love the calendar. Yes.
So you love to plan. So why can't this be part of why isn't this? Because it doesn't sound like this is part of planning. This sounds like it's just whatever. Why would this just be whatever and everything else what do you love to plan? Tell me what you love to plan.
Anything and everything. Meals, trips, outfits, lunches. I do think that there's an urge about wanting to like plan things to look forward to, but then like when I actually get there, it's not as awesome as I was expecting, because what I really need in the moment is like some downtime, like that trip to Santa Fe. Like it sounded so fun. I really was excited. And then like the week of, I was like, ooh, no, I don't want to do this. And I find that happening to me a lot, where I plan to do something and then I'm like, why did I plan this? I really need downtime. So I think maybe part of it is like a little failure and trial and error, trying to figure out, well, how much downtime do I need and how much friend time do I need? And maybe what I need to do is I need to schedule on my calendar, include in my calendaring me time no plans, no social plans.
Well, I think probably in your brain, you're including that in your me time when you're with your friends or you're traveling or whatever. I think that you think that is part of me time when you're doing it.
But it's a different me time than just
I think
sitting
in
at
your
home.
brain, I think
Yeah,
in your
yeah.
brain, it's registering the same, and that's why it's overbooked.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
And here's
And
the
part
other
of,
side of the coin to think
go
about
ahead.
too. The other side of the coin is, what if you just have an urge not to want to do something as it's coming up?
I do think I have a habitual urge like that. Like it's very frequent that I will say,
It is
oh
very
God,
frequent.
I don't want to do this. And then often I do it and I'm like, that was so fun. I want to do it again.
That's what I'm saying.
I hear you. Yeah. So there may be an urge. It may be an urge that my prehistoric brain is saying like, oh, you don't want to do that. You want to stay home. And I need to work through, okay, pause, let the prefrontal cortex come back in and say, you do want to do this. And here are the reasons why. And you just have to take a breath and recognize it is something you want to do and you will enjoy it.
And here's something interesting to think about for you. I just want to read you something because I just think it might ring true for everybody. One of my best friends and advisors once said taught that we as humans are likely to avoid excessive positive emotion as we are to avoid excessive negative emotion. Both are outside our comfort zone. When we find ourselves uncomfortable, we tend to numb the emotion with activities like eating or maybe obsessing over whatever it is for you or just obsessing over what you decided to do that would be so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I think we always think like, oh, well, something that causes negative emotion is easy. But what happens when you're feeling positive emotion? And
right.
What do you do with that?
Yeah, it sort of depends on the situation, but
could you would it be more comfortable to feel more negative?
You mean when I'm feeling really positive?
Yeah, like when you make a date
mm-hmm.
and you want to do it
mm-hmm.
and it causes good emotion, so you do it. I'm just playing with it. And then instead of just being happy with maybe that's a really positive thing for you, maybe your mind goes into there's got to be something wrong with this.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because that seems to be what you're doing is you're making something wrong that was right.
Yeah. Like sort of denying myself that higher, happier emotion because I'm uncomfortable.
It could be uncomfortable.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's the point that she said is we don't just avoid negative emotion.
Yeah.
We avoid positive emotion too, because both feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So like if we're really negative, we want to feel happy. And if we're really happy, we think something's wrong.
Right.
Like, whoa, that makes me really nervous. And so we concoct things.
Interesting. Yeah.
In our heads.
Yeah.
So I think that's just, I don't think there's an answer right now. I think that I've given you lots of different things to think about based on, is it an urge?
Mm-hmm.
Either way.
Yeah.
Or is it really something that you want to do? And then when it comes up, your mind starts thinking, I don't know, this feels a little too good. I think we should tear it apart.
Yeah. This is great food for thought. I love it. This gives me a lot to think about and work with.
Yeah. And then maybe on our next call, we can talk about where you might have taken it because it'll be helpful for everybody because, we do this where we plan something for ourselves and then when it comes up, something happens. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, planning your life and your personal everything as if it were a business. Is there time to do it? Or do you just throw things in that there really isn't time for?
Right.
But it's so much fun. You just feel like you can just put it in there too.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to look at it.
Yeah. Well, and I like what you say about saying yes to one thing means saying no to something else. And that's something I've been cogitating on and working into my life for several months now. And it's very helpful. Good. It's very helpful. But I like some of these other thoughts too. Thank you. This is great.
Well, Master Michelle, I'll be interested to see what you come up next time. Okay.
Right.
Any other questions?
No, I just wanted to say I'm so happy for Paula that her last I'm really delighted for Paula.
Yeah,
And
I
if
bet
I don't get to
everybody
talk to
here
her
is.
again, just wanted to say, like, that's awesome. Congratulations on the last surgery and all that.
That's wonderful. I'm delighted for her too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm delighted for you. I'm delighted for everybody on this call.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow. We're going to do an interview.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okie dokie. Until
All right.
tomorrow and next Monday, the first Monday of the month, we're all back on. All right? Okay.